on Sunday had 5 tackles, 2 tackle for losses, 2 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumble, and a fumble recovery, and more importantly, 2 sacks to end his 6-game streak of no sacks for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they defeat the New England Patriots 21-14 to improve to 2-1 on the season. Welcome to the TroupCast, powered by Oneberg on Oneberg Facebook, Oneberg YouTube, or maybe you're listening back on Spotify. I am your host, Ed Troup, and joining me from KDKA Radio and The Fan 93.7 is Paul Alexander. Paul, one of our favorite guests. You've been on many times. Welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me back. I don't normally get that, return ask, so that's an honor and a privilege.
You're one of the top guests. We keep checking the box. I'd have to look it up, but in the 2.5 years that we've been doing the TroupCast, you may be number one on the most guest list.
Well, I usually appear pretty high alphabetically, but that's normally about where it ends.
With that name Alexander, and I'm
Exactly.
At the end with Troup. So let me tell you, hey Paul, the Steelers are 2-1, mixed bag through 3 games. There's a lot of things we can point out that we feel good about, but there's also a lot of things that we can point out that we don't feel so good about. At times, it seems like we're on the projection of another 9-8 season, but then there's also flashes that this team could possibly do a little bit better and possibly win their first playoff game since 2016. Still early in the season. It is September football. There's a lot to still figure out about this football team.
Yeah, and now that the majority of the NFL teams don't even play their starters together in the preseason, it has kind of a preseason feel. So, yeah, you don't know what the finished product is going to be. The really good teams, they're going to get better as the season goes. And unfortunately, the Mike Tomlin era hasn't really presented a lot of those teams. A lot of them have crumbled in the crunch. I remember, 2020, 11-0. You lose 5 of your next 6. I mean, things like that seem to be more you hate to say it, more the reputation of a Mike Tomlin coach team. So I'm a very optimistic person. I see the glass half full, but one thing I've seen is a pattern. And in the last 10 years, the Steelers under Mike Tomlin have just been way too predictable. And I mean in every single way. I would gladly be the defensive coordinator of every opponent they play. I should probably make a few. Well, actually, it's too obvious to everybody. It's not a special skill that I have. You just know exactly what they're going to do before they do it. You don't even need Spygate anymore. You just do it. And again, I've been doing all the post-game shows on the Fan so far, and football's still so basic. If you stop the run and you run the ball effectively, you're going to be a pretty good football team. And when's the last time we could say that about the Steelers, that they ran the ball very effectively and they stopped the run very effectively? I mean, they would never, ever give up 100 yards rushing, let alone 100 yards to an individual back. And the Dick LeBeau standard, since he's been gone, it left with him. And Mike Tomlin is supposedly a defensive guru, and I just don't see it. I'm never surprised that the offense struggles because they're predictable, but they were supposed to be able to not worry so much about the offense because the defense was going to be, according to Mike Tomlin, historic. They get outgained basically 2-1 in the majority of their games. I just don't know what we're doing. I really don't. I'm so confused by what their actual agenda is. And his comments on Tuesday were, yeah, we're really coming along offensively. What the hell's he watching? Coming along offensively? Ed, I'm confused, very confused.
Yeah, they've struggled, and a lot of it, Paul, has been in the backfield from a running game perspective. Jaylen Warren, who's now the main running back, 5 carries for 34 yards. Actually, that was his receiving numbers. 5 receptions for 34 yards. On the ground, 18 carries for 47 yards. Jaylen Warren is actually the Steelers' leading receiver through 3 games. How about that? The last 2 weeks, he's been the top receiver, and overall for the season, he is ahead of DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, everyone. That is a problem. As the season goes on, you do not want to see Jaylen Warren as your leading receiver.
Well, Ed, I mean, the only throws that they're willing to or able to make are very short. They don't throw the ball down the field. You have DK Metcalf what's that $150 million contract all about if you're not even going to get him involved in the offense? They didn't go out and get a receiver number 2. I like Calvin Austin, but he's definitely a number 3 at best. On a lot of teams, he wouldn't see the field very often. But, you look around, there are problems everywhere. I mean, I watched that Lions-Ravens game. You look at the numbers offensively for the Ravens, you still got to play a little defense, kids. I mean, they're 1-2. They've scored 111 points in 3 games. That should be 3-0 all day long. So we are very obviously focused on the Steelers. I don't know how many great teams are actually out there. I mean, what are we saying about Kansas City right now? They look like their run is about to be over. So when I take a deeper dive into the NFL, obviously I love Detroit. I love their physicality. I love their head coach. I love their aggressiveness. I really enjoyed what I saw from the Patriots. 4 of 5 on 4th down. Mike Tomlin won't go for a 4th down when he is in enemy territory trailing in the final minutes of a game. He'll still punt the damn ball. This guy, Vrabel, goes for it early in the game from his own 15-yard line on 4th and 1. Who lives in their fears?
And gets
Who lives in their fears?
Yeah, they converted that 4th down, did the Patriots inside their own 20-yard line early in that game. The Steelers had 5 turnovers on Sunday, but they struggled offensively to capitalize on those turnovers until the final one, in which the game-winning touchdown strike from Rodgers to Calvin Austin from 17 yards out with 2:20 left in the game, which capped a 13-play, 62-yard, 5-minute, 25-minute drive and ended up being the winning touchdown. TJ Watt, who was shut out the last 6 games. Paul, you mentioned DK Metcalf having that huge contract on offense and underperforming through 3 games. TJ Watt, there were some questions going into this game too. 6 straight games, no splash plays, but he did show up on Sunday and had a pretty big game.
He did, and again, there's no creativity on either side of the ball. If you put TJ Watt in the same exact spot and let him do the same exact thing each and every play in each and every game, well, it's not that hard to game plan for TJ Watt. So you take him out of the game. Highsmith, he's out with an injury. You don't have that real threat, from the other side. And TJ, from what I understand, and I have it on pretty good authority, he doesn't want to be moved around. He never wants to go back in coverage. And it's real simple. If you want to make $41 million per year as a defensive player, you need to have sacks. That's why home run hitters don't mind striking out. If they hit 40 or 50 bombs, they're going to get paid. TJ Watt is not going to mind 6 games being shut out. Now he's on pace. He got 2 more sacks. He gets paid for sacks. And that's where the Steelers have lost their way, in my opinion. Everyone's out for themselves. Everyone's out, even Cam, for heaven's sakes. It had to be about him and his salary and his contract. I mean, I know Hines Ward is held. I mean, it's not like all the other Steelers didn't worry about their paychecks. They did. But I had a much greater sense of them playing for one another and playing to win championships. This team hasn't sniffed a championship and won't sniff a championship, in my opinion, as long as the current regime is in place. And they haven't sniffed one. They haven't even come close to being mentioned as a contender. Instead, you're hearing Kirk Herbstreit going, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they look to me like they just quit. When were they ever accused of anything like that before? And I can't believe everyone's okay with it because they don't have a damn they're the king of non-losing.
Right.
That's not what it's about.
Paul, I want to get your assessment on Aaron Rodgers through the first 3 games. Now, he hasn't had a lot of time to throw the football. The offensive line has broken down a lot. They're still trying to get that act together. We talked about the struggle on the ground with the run game. Passing-wise, through the first 2 games, he was sacked 7 times, knocked down 15 times. Much better job against the Patriots, a very aggressive Patriots pass rush this past week. No sacks on Aaron Rodgers, but facts are facts. Rodgers has led them to 2 game-winning drives late in games against the Jets and against the Patriots. But your assessment of Aaron Rodgers so far?
Well, considering what he's working with, no run game, a really leaky offensive line, I think he's been fantastic. And even more so than that, he's been a true leader. And Ben was never accused of being a leader. I don't think by anybody, but they haven't had any leadership on the offensive side of the ball for like forever. So his temperament, his leadership, and the respect he has in that room and in that locker room. He's a 4-time MVP. He's now 4th all-time in touchdown passes thrown in the NFL.
Right.
I would say he is probably my team MVP right now, without a doubt.
He has 509 career touchdowns now, 4th time, and he's only 30 away from moving into 3rd place, a number which he could possibly hit this year. And if he'd come back and play next year, I would think he will definitely get to that number. We're talking with Paul Alexander of KDKA Radio, the Fan 93.7 FM. You just heard Paul. You can hear him on the Steeler postgame show each and every Steeler game on the Fan, and also through KDKA Radio as well. Paul, just to wrap up the Steelers, and I do want to get some thoughts on college football. I know you're a big college football and Penn State guy, so definitely want to get your thoughts here in a second. And we got to talk about the Buccos. Their season's winding down, and what a great topic that'll be. But before we move on to both of those, we talked about how Aaron Rodgers, as you said it, and I think that's a great take, the Steeler MVP on offense. How about defensively with Jalen Ramsey? Ramsey's been, in my opinion, fantastic through these first 3 games and really has stood out in that secondary, being the leader on this defense. Yes, the defense has been leaky at times, but I think Ramsey has shined.
Yeah, I think he's looked really good, but I don't know if you saw someone put together a really interesting take on X, where 2 weeks in a row, they played defensively the exact same way against deep crosses and got burned badly for touchdowns on both of them.
I did see that.
It just, I mean, come on. I go to a high school football game every Friday night with our KDK coverage, and I absolutely love it. I think there's better tacticians defensively that I watch on Friday nights than I see a lot of times from the Steelers on Sunday, and that's embarrassing to me. I mean, you have to adjust, and they don't. And you see, in that Seattle game, they give up opening drive touchdown right down the field effortlessly, and then start the second half with what? A touchdown drive. So to me, that's when coaching is exposed. They say halftime adjustments. Well, when you don't make any, and if you enter a game when you've had a week to prepare for the opponent, and they go right down the field on you without even breaking a sweat, you're getting out-coached. And I see that far too often. Now, Mike Tomlin loves, now the one-score game record of Mike Tomlin. But yeah, how about blowing some teams out? I don't really care about your one-score game record when you've allowed, inferior teams, supposedly in terms of their roster, to be within one score of you. That's not anything you hang your hat on. Start winning playoff games, start being a contender, and then I'll get excited about something you're doing as a coach.
Paul, the Steelers are 2-1 through the first 3 games. The Bengals also 2-1, but they are now without Joe Burrow and got smacked pretty good by the Vikings, the Steelers' next opponent in Ireland this upcoming Sunday. The Ravens fall to 1-2 on the season after losing to the Detroit Lions that you pointed out earlier on Monday Night Football. They travel to Kansas City this week to face a 1-2 Chiefs team. And then the Browns, they come back in the 4th quarter and defeat the Green Bay Packers. With 4 minutes left, they score all of their points. Let me ask you this question. My father-in-law sent me a text at 7 a.m. yesterday and said, could the Browns possibly be the best team in this division?
I'll tell you what, they might have the best defense in the division.
Right.
They get after you, and I know it's, the Myles Garrett hate in Pittsburgh because, he steals Defensive Player of the Year awards from T.J. Watt. They're playing a great brand of defense. I don't know if they have a quarterback. I don't know if they have an offense. Cleveland will be Cleveland, so the answer would be no, because when it all is said and done, they'll find a way to be Cleveland.
The Browns are the Browns, right?
Exactly.
The Browns will be the Browns. I just had a chuckle when I said it. I agree with you. Defensively, very well, but their offense, though they do have Joe Flacco, who seems to never age. So
Still
look out.
A great deep ball.
Yeah, he sure does. Hey, Paul, let's talk about Penn State football. I know you're passionate about the Nittany Lions, and this is a good take to talk about them. They're 3-0 on the season. They have a big one this week against Oregon, who is also, they're 4-0 overall on the season. What do you think of the Nittany Lions so far? I think, didn't you and I talk last time, and you thought this would be their year?
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, you had a lot of guys come back. Both running backs came back. You have a seasoned, really highly rated quarterback who, like James Franklin, it's all there for them now, but here's what you need to do. You need to win the big games, and it starts Saturday in Happy Valley, then Ohio State a couple weeks later, with the Horseshoe. James Franklin, I think, is 0-5 in these games when, both teams are ranked in the top 10. And Drew Aller has not shined in the biggest games. He has not played his best in the biggest games. So everything is in place. Now we just need them to actually come through. With Knowles as the D coordinator, I mean, that was kind of a missing piece, I think, in a lot of ways. Colton Nicky, I love the O coordinator. He does some great, unbelievably creative things. When we saw Tyler Warren, snap the ball and catch the touchdown on the same play, I fell in love with the coordinator right then and there. I mean, that was just about as innovative as you can get. If the center's on the end of the line, he's eligible. And not a lot of people knew that. Certainly, I think it was USC. They didn't know that either. So it's their year. Everything's in place. They got the high ranking to start the season. They've fallen one place because they haven't played anybody, but that really wasn't their fault. Virginia Tech backed out of one of their games, so they decided. Well, no, actually, one was canceled because of COVID, and then Virginia Tech said, "Well, we're not going to come up there because you didn't come down here." So, Villanova or whatever. I mean, preseason. The season starts Saturday in Happy Valley. It's going to be a whiteout. I'm going to head up there, and I cannot wait to be a part of that insanity.
Penn State is ranked number 3, Oregon number 6. As you said, it's a whiteout on Saturday night, 7:30. That should be a great atmosphere, Paul. And as you said, Franklin has struggled in these big primetime matchups. They'll try to get over the hump this upcoming Saturday. Paul, let's talk about the other team in town, the Pitt Panthers, coming off of a loss at the end. We talked about the Browns coming back on the Packers. Well, in the backyard brawl, WVU a couple weeks ago coming back and beating Pitt at the end. The Panthers are now 2-1 on the season. They will play this weekend against Louisville, and Louisville, the Cardinals, are 3-0 undefeated in the and this will begin Pitt's ACC schedule as well. Your thoughts on Pitt football through the first few weeks of the season? That's a tough loss against WVU because they controlled most of that game.
Yeah, and I think the way the season ended last year with those 6 straight losses, and then to get, a huge upset by West Virginia, I don't have, it's not a feel-good feeling. If I were a Pitt Panther fan or I were on the Pitt Panthers right now, I'm not feeling real good about my situation, against Louisville this week. Now, Narduzzi has shocked the world, occasionally. But they're trending. I think the arrow is pointing down on Pitt football right now, and I don't like to say that. It's just the way it feels. I mean, the feel you have with the program, with everything, it's not trending in a really good direction right now. They could shock the world on Saturday. That would be great, and that would change, I think, a lot of minds and a lot of attitudes. But if they get spanked in Louisville, it's like, here we go. It's going to be another bad year.
Yeah, 12 o'clock on Saturday, Pitt and Louisville. Any other surprises so far in the college football season for you, Paul, as far as who's the best?
Notre Dame again. I mean, they're supposedly, and Marcus Freeman, one of the greatest coaches on the planet. The one thing I'll say about James Franklin that you can no longer say about Marcus Freeman, he doesn't lose the games he's supposed to win. To me, when you have a horrible record against top 5 teams, it looks bad, and it is bad. He's like 1-15 or something like that. I mean, a lot of people can recite the numbers, the haters out there. But guess what? They're top 5 teams. I mean, it's like, you've never beat Tiger head-to-head. Okay, yeah, it's freaking Tiger. You never beat Jack Nicklaus in match play. Yeah, no, I never did. So I'm not excusing it at all, and it's very frustrating as a Penn State fan. And I've witnessed all of those, shameful losses in a lot of ways because I think it was, a little shaky quarterback play and some bad decisions by the head coach. I'm not excusing him at all, but at least he's losing to really good teams and not losing to bad teams or unheralded teams. I'll take that. I'll take 10 and 11 wins every year. I'm never, going back to Pitt, Walt Harris won 9 games every year and went to a bowl game every year, and that wasn't enough. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, would we love to have that back? Wouldn't that be nice? And it was every year they won 9 games. So, and maybe, I've been really tough on Tomlin the last probably 7, 8 years. Maybe I should lighten up and realize non-losing isn't that bad. And they make it to the playoffs. But when they have no chance to win a playoff game, to me, that's not okay. James Franklin, it's a prove it season for him right now, and for Drew Aller, the quarterback. They have to prove they can win the big game.
Hey, when you reference Pitt and what they've been able to do, they're always trying to be a top 10 program. How about just be a top 25 program first for a few years, then take that next step? And we're going to talk about the Pirates here in a little bit. They're another franchise that's trying to win the division and make the playoffs every year. How about just finish 500 or a little bit better and build on that?
I think on my shows that always say, if you would just switch Mike Tomlin over to the Pirates and you give the Pirates 18 non-losing seasons, I'll pay for the parade.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I'll pay for the parade. If you give me 18 non-losing Pirates seasons, I will pay for the parade.
In sports, I think sometimes franchise, and we know they have to sell tickets, so you're not going to go before any franchise in major sports and say, "Hey, we're just going to try to be 500 this year," or just show up. You're going to try to win a championship, but I think there needs to be realistic expectations within a program, especially a college football program, a program like Pitt that's just trying to take the next step. Don't come out and, "Hey, we're going to win the national title this year. We're going to be in that top 10 conversation." How about just get the top 25 conversation and then take the next step? Miami is number 2 nationally, and Ohio State is number 1, the defending champs. They are the 2 teams in front of Penn State, who checks in at number 3 in the latest AP Top 25, LSU number 4, and Georgia number 5. Just to wrap up the college football conversation, you said Penn State, Ohio State coming up in a couple weeks. They got a big one against Oregon, as we talked about. But do you think the Buckeyes are the best team in college football right now?
Well, I'm a big fan of until the champs knocked off, yeah. And they prove it, year in, year out. I don't think there's any question about that. And, the SEC has been on they've been king of the mountain for a long time. And I think they've earned it. But now with Saban gone at Alabama, and there's just not that real sense of SEC dominance. And I think the Big Ten's making a pretty good statement. And Ohio State's the reason why. They have SEC-like talent. If you find a better university cranking out NFL wide receivers, show me. I haven't seen it. And every game that the Steelers play, there's someone from Ohio State giving them problems, and it just seems to be that program has really established itself. And Ryan Day can't catch a break. Everybody's ready to get rid of him at the turn of a hat. Be careful what you wish for, folks. He has done an amazing job at Ohio State.
Yeah, I agree completely with you, Paul. Let's wrap up with this. We still have a few more minutes with you. Let's talk about the baseball franchise here in Pittsburgh that is now 68-89. The Pittsburgh Pirates, 26 and a half games out of 500. Boy, at times this season, they will give you a little bit of a hint of what they could possibly be. They swept the Dodgers here recently, right? And then they just go on a 6 to 7 game run of getting blown out 8-2 every night, and we're back to the same old scene. Your assessment of the Pittsburgh Pirates this year, another disappointing season, but shouldn't really surprise anyone when you don't make any moves in the offseason and not try to build around a generational pitcher like Paul Skeens.
Yeah, and it's not just Skeens. And, his record with 3 runs of support would have been, I think, he would have like 20 wins. And if you give him 4 runs of support, he would have basically won almost every one of his starts. So, yeah, as you go into the offseason last year and you need to find a couple of bats. And they give you Tommy Pham and Triolo, and whatever they do. And here's what's, to me, so indicative of their real lack of commitment to winning. In 10 years, they haven't signed a free agent for more than a 1-year deal. So they go after a guy that was good 3 or 4 years ago, might have a little bit left. We can get him on a contract that's going to run out, and hopefully he'll have a good enough year that we can trade him and bring in some prospects. And that there's never a now. And I've been saying that for a long time, since 13, 14, and 15, when they actually had their only now in a lot of Pirate fans' lifetime. That's the only now that they've ever had in the majority of Pirate fans' lifetime which is so embarrassing. It's it's so frustrating that they don't give that ballpark and the fan base a legitimate effort to win. And you look at Milwaukee, a smaller market than Pittsburgh. They're not spending $300 million on payroll. It's maybe $150 or something around there. It's right in the middle of payroll in the Major League Baseball. But they draft and develop. Tampa's always a great example that you can do it on a budget, but they just make no effort. And you give a GM and Ben Cherington 6 years to turn this thing around. And we go 76 wins, and now they're not getting 76 wins this year. And the statement coming out of spring training was, it's time to win. And Bob Nutting put his foot down. We know what the expectations are. It's time to win. I've given them the wherewithal to do whatever they need to compete. No, you haven't. And we don't have the right people. We don't obviously have good scouts. We don't have, coaches that are developing players. I know one thing. They got a bunch of great arms. And if you would give them a little bit of run support, you could certainly be right in the hunt for the wild card and maybe even a shot at the division and maybe, heaven forbid, a shot at winning a playoff series. And my favorite thing that Paul Skeens said once he got here was, wait a second, we're celebrating a wild card victory? That's all we really goes, that's not okay. And if they allow, and he called him out, and that's the only chance that we have. If Bob Nutting listened and heard one of the greatest pitchers maybe in the history of the game, and it's a little early to say that I get it, but he might end up being that because he started better than any pitcher in the game in his first 55 starts. Yep. No one's been better out of the gate than him. He said, listen, we know what we need to do, and if we don't do it, the whole last year was just a waste. And he's called him out.
Pittsburgh grown Don Kelly, Mount Lebanon, Point Park. He is the manager currently. Has he done enough to come back next year, in your opinion?
It's so hard to tell. I mean, my bias, I'm a huge Don Kelly fan. I love the guy.
Me too.
I think he's a great baseball guy. I remember 2007 vividly. I was covering spring training, and I wanted to do the Don Kelly feature early in spring training, just in case he didn't make the club. So the day we decided we were doing the Don Kelly, he went 3 for 4, had sterling plays in the field, and he never stopped. I mean, he kept hitting like that for the entirety of spring, and he was an easy choice to make the roster in 2007. He did that for about 7 or 8, 10 years in the bigs, and he was always one of the last guys to make that 25-man roster, but he always did. And if you can't support a guy like that and play hard for a guy like that, then you're not someone I want on my team. But I don't know if he's done enough. I don't, because he didn't have a whole lot to work with. But I'd sure like to give him a chance. If it were my ball club, Don Kelly would be my manager.
I agree. I'd bring him back for a full season as well to see what he can do, and hopefully they can do some upgrades in the offseason. Paul, I think they need to quit insulting the fan base by saying, this is it. We've upgraded the roster. We're here, when the entire fan base knows exactly where this club is. Paul, the Steelers head to Ireland this Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pittsburgh time. Have you ever been to Ireland?
I have not, and I would love to. And I'm very Irish. My descent is begging me to get over there.
I'm with you, man. I'm the same here. What do you think of these international games? Are you a fan of them?
I'm not. I mean, someone has to give up a home game, which is their bread and butter.
Yeah.
Growing the brand. I mean, how much money does the NFL need to make? The U.S. is supporting them quite well. They are billions. I mean, billions and billions and billions of dollars flow into the pockets of NFL owners and NFL executives, and they're just, to me, it's greedy. And then you don't go and enjoy it like Tom. It's a business trip. Well, I don't want them to take in any of the culture or anything like that. It's all business. Well, yeah, it's all business for the NFL. It's just, to me, it's greedy, and I wouldn't want to give up a home game. Now, obviously, with Dan Rooney, who I love dearly, was the ambassador to Ireland. I mean, at least there's a connection for Steeler fans and for the Rooney family. There's a little something there. Right. So I'm sure they're happy to be a part of this. But at the same time, enough's enough.
Yeah, it's tough to do the traveling and being over. The good news for the Steelers is they come back at least for a bye week, so
That is good.
they'll have some extra time to adjust before getting back into things. Hey, Paul, thank you so much for coming on the TroupCast again. Always enjoy talking to you. Why don't you tell everybody watching where can we hear you next and when?
Well, I've been doing all the Steeler postgame shows, so as soon as the game's over, you can switch it over to 93.7 The Fan, and I do the weekday news on KDKA, the voice of Pittsburgh. So that's every day from 12:30 until 8 o'clock.
There you go. You can hear Paul on KDKA Radio as well as The Fan 93.7 and Friday Night Football, right?
Oh, yeah, Friday Night Football's our favorite. This week is a good one. Peters Township hosting Upper St. Clair. That's our game of the week, and it's going to be a good one.
That's going to be an extremely good one in Class 5A. Do me a favor, say hello to Dan Zangrilli and Johnny Lee, our good friend Johnny Lee, the coach for us. One of my favorite people in the entire world.
Doesn't get any better. It does not.
Does not get any better than that. My only regret is that he went with Dan and KDKA, and I'm not able to work with him anymore. I used to work with Johnny way back in the day doing games when he first moved into the broadcast booth. So, yeah, definitely check them out along with Paul on 93.7 FM, The Fan. Thank you, Paul. Have a great day.
All right, Ed, you as well. Thank you.
That's going to do it for the TroupCast this week, powered by Oneberg on Oneberg Facebook, Oneberg YouTube, and Spotify. Have a great day, everyone.